So, it's been a while, huh? That's honestly my bad, I didn't expect to have this busy of a summer, so I haven't uploaded anything in a while. So obviously, this video doubles as an apology and also just as me uploading something. So once again, sorry, and let's get right into the video. I knew when I got back from my long break, I would definitely want to make a video that was simple and quick and easy to make, but also enjoyable to watch. You know, something that would ease me back into my regular schedule of making videos. By now, we all know what Tears of the Kingdom is. A masterpiece of a game with beautiful landscaping, stories, and oh, what's the topic of this video again? Let's take a quick look at the title. Oh, right, bosses. Today, this video is solely focused on each and every boss in Tears of the Kingdom and how I would rank them on a scale of best to worst. A few things before I start the ranking though. What I consider a boss is anything with a boss health line. You know, the little line that shows up at the top of your screen underneath the name of whatever you're fighting, that thing. Everything else doesn't count and will not be on this list. Secondly, this is my opinion. This entire list is solely my opinion. However, if you do have a different opinion than mine or would rank something on a different level, feel free to put it in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' input. And without further ado, I think we can finally begin the video. Whether or not you count him as a boss, he has a boss health line, so he's on the list. Number 18 is Yunobo. And yeah, don't worry, I understand he's less of a boss fight and more of a mini boss that's just used for thematic elements. Basically, he's just there to move the plot along. No matter the weapon you use, it only takes 3 hits and he's out. So I don't think I have to stay on him for very long for you to understand why he's this low on the list. Next one is, honestly, in my opinion, equal to the Yunobo fight, but it's the sludge-like that you fight during the Sidon quest. I honestly forgot this guy existed, but when I was gathering footage for this video, I realized that he does in fact have a boss health bar. Because of my Joy-Con drift, I actually struggled with this fight a lot, which made me feel incredibly stupid. Like every time I would try and land Sidon's little ability with the water, my Joy-Con would drift and it would just hit right beside the like and not on the like. It was very annoying. Next up, we have a returning monster that was originally in Breath of the Wild and now it's in Tears of the Kingdom 2. We have the Hinox. I mainly put him this low simply because there's nothing new to the table. I mean, besides a few little accessories around the head, that's the only thing that's different about Hinoxes in this game. But yes, Hinoxes are still a fun mini-boss. I like the music, I like the way they look, I like their weak spot, which is just an eye, which is a reoccurring weak spot in the Legend of Zelda franchise, but I digress. Still enjoyable, still fun to fight, but it brings nothing new to the table. Which can be said about the next thing on the list, the Molduga. Just like the Hinoxes, the Molduga don't offer anything new to the game, but I will say there's a reason they're above the Hinoxes. The music of that fight. Listen to me, music can really make or break a boss fight. And fighting a Molduga is a perfect example of that. You just need good music to make a good boss. Well, I take that back, but I mean, I guess on the topic of Dark Beast Ganon, we could talk about the equivalent in this game. Compared to Dark Beast Ganon, the Demon Dragon is a very big upgrade. It at least can damage your health in some way, whether or not it's fatal. And in addition to that, the fight is really cool because it utilizes Dragon Zelda. And I feel a little bit stupid because a lot of people said that this fight was super expected and they expected Ganondorf to turn into a dragon, but am I the only one who did not see that coming? I expected the Zelda part, definitely not the Ganondorf part. Next up, we have another monster from the Elden region. We got Miragia, whatever, that boss. It's a fun little pop-up mini-boss that you don't really see coming, and although it also takes 3 hits to beat this guy, and he's not necessarily difficult to beat, I appreciate the fact that this mini-boss uses Zonai technology in order to beat it. Unfortunately, with a game that revolves around Zonai and Zonai technology, there aren't a lot of bosses that utilize that. Speaking of another thing that's not really utilized, Link's abilities in the game. Taluses, although originally from Breath of the Wild, do have new things added to them for Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it is just a talus with a Bokoblin camp on top of it, but I still think that's cool. Going back to Link's abilities, you can use a fair amount on this boss. The one that you're gonna want to use is Ascend to get on top of the talus to beat up its little ore, but at the end of the fight, it drops a little like stone heart thing that you can use to fuse to your weapons, which at first I just completely walked away from because I was still getting used to the fuse feature of the game. Next up, we have one of the main story bosses, I guess. We have Muktarok, and he's just really a silly little guy, I guess, and you just beat him up with water and then hit him. Not the most interesting of boss fights, which I guess adds charm? I don't know. This next one is completely biased, but Master Koga is definitely high on this list. Originally, I was so upset because I thought he wasn't in the game, and then I just randomly stumbled upon him. You use Zonai technology, or rather his Zonai technology, against him in order to beat him, which is cool in itself, but also, come on. It's Master Koga, guys. Next up is another monster that you can find deep in the depths. Let's just say you can never forget the first time you come across a Phrox. I remember I was setting down my bloom flowers to light up the depths, and I realized that something behind me was eating them. I kept my distance for a long time, but then I realized it was probably just a mini-boss, so I tried to go and fight it, only to be swallowed whole. Once you figure out a Phrox's moves, they aren't particularly difficult to beat, but it's just that first encounter that really strikes the gold for me. Next up in the ranking, we have something that I wasn't really fond of to fight, but it was still a good boss. Queen Gibdo belongs to the Lightning Temple, and before you can even enter it, you get a taste of what she's like. Once you finish the Lightning Temple though, that's when you can fight her for real. I, at first, really enjoyed this fight. I thought walking in the sand was difficult. At this point, I did not have any sand boots with me. I also kind of kill for anything Gerudo themed, as the Gerudo Desert is probably my favorite region in the whole Legend of Zelda franchise. But once we hit that second phase, that's when it started to fall off for me. Gibdo's like spamming in was not fun, especially the crawly ones. I hate the crawly ones. The next two are kind of on equal terms in my head, but the next one on the list is the Flux Construct. Probably the first boss you will ever fight in Tears of the Kingdom, and although not difficult, it does a fantastic job at teaching you all of Link's abilities. And the one that I equally like is Marbled Goma. Once again, not difficult, but still a super fun boss to fight. Like, original Zelda fans, tell me you weren't excited when you saw the name Goma pop up in your screen. This is probably the only time I've ever used Yunobo's ability, but I mean, it was fun shooting him up a wall. Now we're getting to the top tiers, my favorites. Now, although I would love to rate the top 5 on a completely technical standpoint, there will be a tiny bit of bias. I'm just gonna warn you now. Because next up we have Phantom Ganon. This one's a little hard to rate because there are two scenarios that you can find Phantom Ganon in. One is right after you defeat Gloomhands, and one is following the main story in Hyrule Castle. Fighting Phantom Ganons in the overworld after defeating Gloomhands is not that challenging of a fight. Just get your best weapon or onslaught them with arrows and they're kind of done for. But the ones in Hyrule Castle are the ones that I appreciate because dang, they are cool. And also, come on, Phantom Ganon. You can't expect me to not be excited about that. Also, you can't expect me to not be excited about probably one of the coolest bosses in the whole franchise. Now, yes, Calgera does rate below a lot of cool bosses in this franchise, but Calgera was one of my favorites throughout the entire game. Is it the killer music? Yes. Is it the Rito theming? Probably also yes. Is it the fact that you can body slam yourself into the weak spots? Also yes. Like I said, bias is definitely here, but can you really blame me? Because I'm gonna tell you that bias is definitely in this next boss. You can't tell me that I'm not supposed to be thrilled and excited when there is a mech fight in a Legend of Zelda game. Like, what? I don't know who on Nintendo's team thought this was a good idea, but it was a good idea, and I applaud them for it, because what the heck? Seriously, words cannot describe how confused I was, but also how excited I was when I had to fight a mech inside of a mech suit. it was crazy, but bravo. Get excited, y'all. We're at the last two. And number 2 on this list is, of course, the Gleeok. Once again, pure nostalgia is one of the reasons this boss is one of my favorites. But another thing is that it's so challenging. I hadn't fought something this difficult since a Lionel, especially the King Gleeok with the heads of 3 different elements. Oh my god. You need a lot more skill than me, which isn't saying a lot, but you need a lot more skill than me in order to fight a Gleeok. And now for number 1, which is probably the most expected and non-surprising part of this video. Yeah, guys, it's Demon King Ganondorf. I mean, what else was it going to be? If you've seen my previous video, you know that I struggled quite a bit with this boss. Like, when he perfectly dodged my flurry brush, my jaw was on the floor. I'm just so happy that they did Ganondorf so right, making Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf one of my favorite Ganondorfs throughout the entire franchise, and easily number 1 on this list. So, what do you think? Do you agree with my ratings? Do you disagree? Tell me in the comment section down below. As always, I hope you are having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.